Do we have any members on Zoom?
We do. We have Pam.
And we're getting feed.
Pam Floor, member at large, representing seniors.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Any members?
Good afternoon, Mariana Rosales.
Great. Go ahead and tell us who you're representing, Mariana. Okay, well, he's there. Thank you. So we definitely have a quorum, and glad to see everybody on today. So now we'll go to staff. Priscilla, you can start off again.
Yes, Priscilla Vargas, and I'd like to start to my right with Kathy.
Good afternoon, Jamie Pulcanavery, Director of Customer Satisfaction.
Alan Figueroa Camarena, Administrative Assistant to Accessible Services.
Good afternoon, Thomas Russell Jr., Superintendent for SAC-RT Go and CBS.
Good afternoon, Blanca Salcedo, VP Operations.
Anthony DiCristofano, AVP Operations.
Good afternoon, Mike Cormier, Director, Light Rail Maintenance.
Good afternoon, Kevin Alvarez, Planning Intern.
Good afternoon, Rowan Brandt, Planning Intern.
Hey, good afternoon. Hiding behind the post over here. James Drake with SAC-RT Planning.
Hi, everyone. Back in the corner over here, I'm Laura Ham, Vice President of Planning, Grants, and Procurement for SAC-RT.
And on the lounge couch is Anthony Adams, Director of Planning at SAC-RT.
Hello, everyone. Adam Green, Senior Administrative Assistant.
Good afternoon, Chris Flores, Chief of Staff and VP of Real Estate, SAC-RT.
Okay, public, members of the public.
Pass the mic around.
Yeah.
My name is Melissa Backrack. My name is Kate Harper.
My name is Miguel Pena.
Dan Allison with Sacramento Transit Advocates and Riders.
Jeff Tartagia, SAC True, Dogfight, and a couple other places abdicating.
L.R. Roberts, Older Women's League.
Bill Plato.
I guess it's last on the roll call. Gary Vickers, I'm the COO of Paratransit Incorporated.
Okay. Well, thank you to all the public. We welcome you here today. Our next item, before we go to our minutes, I want to give a thank you to those who set up our new abode for these meetings. It's so far going very smoothly, and we really appreciate that. So thanks a lot for setting it up. Okay. Excuse me. Minutes for what's our date on the
August 15th.
August 15th. I brought the wrong agenda somehow. So August 15th minutes. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second it.
And Helen got a second. Is there discussion? Hearing Jeff, you have, well, this is really not. This is. Okay, we'll make sure that happens. That's important. Have to admit that. Okay, so all those in favor of acceptance of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the minutes have passed. We'll now go to public comment on items not on the agenda. So we'll pass the mic around. Let's start. Is there any members of the public in Zoom? I don't know whether who have any public comment. Okay, we don't see any, so let's go to people in the room. Wait a minute, we got a hand up.
I approve.
Can you give us your name, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Austin Beat from the the
Sorry about that.
Ripley
Go ahead.
chapter.
Go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. It's Austin Benavides from the Ripley chapter of California.
Okay, go ahead, Austin. What do you have to say today?
Well, it's about the Ubers. Sometimes it takes me early, but I'm not most of not all the time, but sometimes it would do that, like earlier than the scheduled time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, if you need to say anything else, you can bring it up later in the meeting if you think about it.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Thank you very much. In the room. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah.
Apparently the low floor vehicle, the I-80 vehicle will be discussed later in the meeting, but I will offer and say that I'm sorry there was nobody other than than Helen at the demonstration on September 2nd for the opening of the light rail vehicles. As there are several things that are going on and happening through there, I will explain those later on, apparently in the report, but I will offer and say the Wednesday after, the light rail vehicle was jammed packed. And dealing with the demonstration, it was not really accessible. And for everything that was discussed and all the people that were there was no mention that the low floor vehicles provided greater accessibility for ridership. It's exciting to see, but there are certainly a number of issues that have yet to be resolved with low floor. But that will be my public comment for this day.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Hi, my name is Melissa Backrack, and I'm here with regard to the new trains as well. I'm going to start with the positive first. I made a recommendation on the first or second day after I rode these trains. I actually came down here and talked to a nice gentleman. I can't remember his name, but he did put my comments in the computer. So thank you to whoever that was. But I have some real issues with this train. My reach isn't very far, and I've taken the train 3 times just today, so I am used to it. Well, barely used to it. But if I don't reach the button exactly, it clogs up the train because I have to be able to back away for the ramp to come out. So the suggestion I made when I talked to the gentleman, the manager from RT, was I think that every time the train stops, the driver should automatically deploy the ramps so we don't have to reach for them. Because if I reach and then have to back up, it actually clogs up the train. And I will second what this gentleman said. I don't remember his name. It's a little crowded. I know you can't do anything about that part, but at least you can make boarding a little easier if the ramps are automatically deployed, because then I don't have to push a button. I can usually push it once I get in there because there's enough people to help me, but not always when I get on. And I don't know what you can do about it, but I do want to let you know that if there's a bike in there and a couple chairs and the utility carts for older people with groceries, there's not enough room. There just isn't. If anybody's interested, I have a picture I can show. It's really, really crowded. Anyway, I don't want to harp on that. So thank you for listening.
So let me just comment on the last issue, not that the others aren't equally important, but what the MAC did say about the bicycle issue is we really think it is very important that our team monitor the types of concerns that you just mentioned. So I hope you will show that picture to someone at our team, maybe at the end of the meeting or whatever, because I think that is something we're trying to.
And I really hope that you consider having the drivers deploy the ramps when they stop. And I thought that I was told by somebody that works for you, I don't know if she's a driver or who, but she said that there was a vote on that today, and I really hope you consider it.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly not trying to do nothing about the other issues. We'll bring those up during the course of today's meeting, I'm sure. So thank you. I just want to mention that one while I had it.
Yeah, I will show the picture at any time that you'd like.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? I know there's more hands.
Thank you. I'm going to echo what the previous speaker said about the various things, getting the doors opened, making the little blue buttons more accessible to people that have to drive up to them, and at the same time stay out of the way so the ramps can come out. And also the fact about the bikes that I've experienced on several occasions now seem to stand right in front of the door, and they will not move to allow anybody to use that entrance. And then the biggest problem that I seem to have is that because the platform is a few inches shorter or lower than the trains, that ramp, at least for me in my chair, is extremely steep to have to climb. And it's easier on the way up because there is a post on the left-hand side as you're entering the train that you can hold onto and more or less steady yourself. But when you're coming out of the train, it is very, very steep. And I can only, in my personal experience, I can hold the chair back for about half the ramp. After that, I have to release it. And it goes down there quite rapidly. And with one of the last times I was on there, it came very close to hitting the fence or posts or wall, whatever it is, behind the platform also before it stopped. And I guess that's about all I have to say, but I really, I think that that with the platform so much lower than the trains themselves, the floor of the train, maybe the platforms, or at least parts of it, parts of the platform, and designated for handicapped or mobility issues, and painted a different color, and that would expedite things getting chairs and mobility devices off the trains. I've also had several people that were not in power chairs, but were just in regular hand mobility devices comment about how difficult those ramps are. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that excellent input. Okay, next.
Microphone for you.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Miguel Pena. I'm visually impaired, and I use microtransit and smart bus on a regular basis. My input that I need to say today is I want to thank you guys, first of all, for bringing microtransit and smart bus to Sacramento. I live in the Citrus Heights area, but I use smart bus everywhere I go, whether it's Carmichael, downtown, Elk Grove, Folsom. I enjoy interacting with the smart bus drivers. They all know me. They all look out for me. They take care of me. I've had problems riding big bus where I've been robbed, mugged, assaulted, waiting at a bus stop using a cane. It identifies that I'm blind. The cops will come, and there's nothing that they can do because I can't tell them what they look like, which way they went, how many there were, what was the color of the vehicle, what type of vehicle. So the cops come and there's nothing they can absolutely do for me. It's a very difficult situation to be in. Then Smart Bus microtransit comes along, and it makes it possible for me to take my son to school. It makes it possible for me to go grocery shopping. It makes it possible for me to run errands, to go to doctor's appointments. Now people will say, well, you could do paratransit. Well, paratransit doesn't work the same way. It's not the same at all. You got to schedule it a day ahead in advance. And if you tried living your life, scheduling your rides a day in advance, things change. You know, sometimes, you know, your schedule changes and now you have time. You can go to Marshall's, you can go to Rayleigh's, you can go to Safeway, you can run other errands, but that's not the case. How do I know if I'm going to need milk on, you know, Wednesday? I might need it on Tuesday, but now I have to wait till Wednesday to get it. My point is Smart Bus and microtransit is such a blessing for people like me on a fixed income and that need and depend on public transportation to get around. Without Smart Bus, my life isn't possible. I can't be a father. I can't be the type of father I am currently. It's dangerous without Smart Bus. I will give you an analogy, example. I was at the light rail.
We have to have a time limit. Can you finish in about 30 seconds? That's okay.
I was at the light rail station. I got assaulted. The Smart Bus pulls up. A few minutes later, I told them. They identified somebody running away. They contacted authorities. All the other Smart Buses, the trains all chimed in. They were able to catch the person who assaulted me in Rancho Cordova because they were there, because they looked out for me. Anyways, that's it. I pray and hope that you guys find it in the budget to save Smart Bus and microtransit to make people like me's life safer and possible. Thank you again.
Thank you for that excellent input on Smart Ride. Okay, I think that's it, correct? One more. Okay, sorry about that.
Hi, my name's Kate Harper. I also live in Citrus Heights. I'm 80 years old and I'm disabled. I have COPD and I have a bad back and I can't walk very well. And I gave up my car 7 years ago because we have Smart Ride in Citrus Heights and I could no longer afford to have a car. I live on Social Security. And if anybody's ever tried to do that, there's not a lot of fat on that budget. If Smart Ride goes away, I'm stuck in my house is basically what happens. I don't have anyone that I can call to take me anywhere. I have some med transports, right? I have 24 a year. I go to pulmonary rehab twice a week. If I had to take paratransit, it would cost me $90 a month. I also need to be doing physical therapy for my back, and that would be even more. And I don't have that kind of money. So I'm here to tell you that I represent, I'm one of many that I know who take Smart Ride very regularly, and that's how they manage to live their lives. And I don't know what we're going to do if Smart Ride goes away. I mean, I literally don't know what I'm going to do. And the only thing I can think of is to sell my house and move out of state because I can't live stuck in my house. Thanks.
Thank you for that input. Okay, we're going to move on to the president's report, and I don't have anything specifically. So we will move on to the first item, and two old friends of this entity, James Drake, who's here about 10 times a year, and Laura Ham, who hasn't been here in a while, but who's the oldest of the old friends of this. So let you guys talk about the Smart Ride issue.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Nice to see you all. Glad to be here. I do have, James and I have a fairly significant update to provide with you regarding Smart Ride today. And it sounds like there may be some information out in the community about the future of the Smart Ride program, which has absolutely filled a need in the community over the last 5.5 years. It was largely funded by a grant from STA of one-time funds through the Measure A, the local.
Can you, I'm sorry, Laura.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, can you state what STA is?
Yes, it is the Sacramento Transportation Authority, and it's the governing body that has the responsibility of allocating funds that are collected through the Measure A transportation sales tax. So there's a 0.5-cent sales tax, and it funds various transportation programs. One of those programs in the Measure A expenditure plan is neighborhood shuttle service. And I believe it collected about $1 million a year, starting at the beginning of the measure. STA did not award any of those funds until 2018. And at that time, SAC-RT received a $14 million grant to operate SmartRide. And it largely funded SmartRide for the first 5 years of the program, not entirely, but largely funded it. Since then, we're now constrained to the $1 million a year that is available. SAC-RT secured last year an $800,000 a year grant. However, the cost of SmartRide operation is $8.4 million annually. I think, as most of you know, the pandemic has had a pretty profound impact on transit across the nation, combined with rising costs post-pandemic. SAC-RT did benefit from several federal COVID relief packages, and more recently, there was a statewide legislation, SB 125, that has provided an additional relief package for transit agencies in California. Through the process of allocating those funds, for which SAC-RT did receive operating dollars in FY25, and we're expecting to receive operating dollars in FY26 and 27, our local planning agency, SACOG, which is the Sacramento Area Council of Governments, will be responsible for implementing a long-range financial plan for the transit agencies in the region, SAC-RT being the largest, providing 90% of transit trips in the region. As a part of that process, because we know that this is a one-time relief package, we have been asked to look carefully at opportunities to optimize our business and look at service lines that are less effective. The reality is that SmartRide, although it fills a need, and I understand that, is our most expensive service line at $47 per trip, compared to our fixed route bus service at about $10 per trip. And with that cost of $8.4 million a year. So for the past several months, as we were going through the allocation process for the relief funds, we've been looking at options for the future of SmartRide. And we're here today to share with you a little bit more about that. We have developed a proposal that we'll be sharing with the SAC-RT Board of Directors on Monday, the 23rd. That will be a subsidized rideshare voucher program. So SAC-RT is in the process of coordinating with rideshare providers, and you may be familiar with some of them like Uber and Lyft, where SAC-RT would provide a coupon code or a voucher to subsidize the cost of a ride. And there's a bit more to it than that. And so I want to bring up James Drake, our Senior Manager of Planning, to talk to you a little bit about what that program may look like and next steps in the process. And I'm available for questions as well.
Yeah. Good afternoon, members of the MAC. James Drake, Senior Manager of Service Planning for SAC-RT. And yeah, I joined Laura in regretting to be kind of the bearer of some bad news about, the financial situation here with SmartRide. My main task here today, though, is kind of talk a little bit about a program we've been developing that we hope might help kind of ease the burden for SmartRide having to be discontinued. Like Laura mentioned, the basic idea is to help people with the affordability of taking a rideshare service such as Uber, basically in the same area that we have today with Smart Ride, the same hours of service, weekdays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You know, and how it would work basically is giving people a discount code or a voucher that basically gives them like $5 off to ride an Uber or rideshare that's in the program. Uber is the firm that we've been looking at, and then I think will be probably our first and primary provider for this service. But we are looking at like secondary providers, not just other rideshare firms, but also local taxi firms and wheelchair transports. And kind of touching on a little what Laura mentioned, I mean, we have a pretty grim financial situation. You know, Smart Ride costs about, it's over $8 million a year right now. And we had some definite budget problems this year. We believe with this program, we can provide a similar number of rides or subsidize a similar number of rides for about $800,000 a year. So like 1/10 of the cost to help a similar volume of people in those same geographical areas and times. I will say, you know, this is something that, you know, we've been working on fairly quietly here, trying to get this prepared. You know, obviously we have, you know, employees who drive our Smart Ride buses and a number of customers who rely on us. We move 700 people a day on Smart Ride. So we've wanted to get this to a point where we can share this publicly. But with the financial situation being quite serious, we now are on a pretty aggressive timeline to take some action. So now this is really the first public presentation about this new rideshare voucher program and with this news about Smart Ride. But over the next few months, we'll be working quite openly and publicly. This is the period where we're going to want as much input as possible on this new program. We know this can't do everything that Smart Ride does, but we do hope that this can do a lot of what Smart Ride does. And in some respects, there may be some advantages, of course, but sharpening that proposal and making it as good as possible, that's what we'll be working on these next few months. To get back to a little bit to how it would work, you know, the baseline proposal is basically, you know, $5 off a ride if you take Uber. So customer would pay the first $5, SAC-RT would pick up the next $5, customer would pick up the remainder. We probably would cap this at like 20 uses per month. We could vary that depending on the user, but that's kind of the baseline. We want to make sure that, you know, there's some safeguards and stuff on utilization. We are looking at Uber as our initial provider. They have a lot of experience with deals like this. They are, we've worked with them. They've demonstrated some readiness, some quality of service, and really the technical capability to be ready to go. But we've also been speaking with local cab companies, looking into wheelchair transport companies, kind of augment some of the offerings. You know, one of the advantages a local cab company provides, just as a baseline, you have a book by phone option, you have a payment by cash option, and we believe it would help augment our wheelchair capacity too on a service like this. Local cab companies, as well as Uber, actually also provide book in advance, which is something I know a lot of our Smart Ride users have wanted. You know, we've done a lot of research so far, but we've also been kind of taking to the streets to do some test rides to see if, you know, the actual ride experience stacks up to, you know, what's advertised. There's a lot of capabilities that advertise both on Uber and other providers. So we've been wanting to see how that works in the field. I was lucky enough to have, you know, Vice Chair Johnson come out with me even for a test ride on one of our cab providers. Now, one of the advantages I would add too on the Uber side is students are a huge market for us. Obviously, on Smart Ride, students make up about 30% of riders, and most ride shares and taxi companies, Uber and Lyft included, don't ordinarily allow minors to ride. But under Uber actually has a program where people aged 13 to 17 can sign up under the account of a parent and ride independently. We think that's something that may be an option to help our many student riders. Uber also has some options such as like an all green fleet we can use, as well as an assist model to include where users can request an Uber assist vehicle. It provides a larger vehicle, assistance getting in and out. The cost to ride, even with a subsidy, is probably not going to be as favorable as it is to ride Smart Ride, which is, a quite affordable deal. And that's something we recognize. But the flip time is availability and wait times we expect to be considerably better. I mean, right now on Smart Ride, availability has certainly been a thing. I think about 1 in 5 customers are just turned away due to capacity. And wait times average about 30 minutes. On rideshare and cab, we expect it pretty common to be 5-minute wait times. A little more on how it will work. Users will basically be asked to enroll on sacrt.com, and that will trigger us passing along promo codes to redeem vouchers. There's some things we may be able to add as well to ensure that this program is targeted toward transit users, by, confirming that a user has a Connect card or has an active Zip Pass account. But initially, what we'll probably be doing is taking all our folks who ride Smart Ride today and automatically enrolling them in this program. So, one of the things on the usability side, in addition to wheelchair access, is making sure this works well for people with visual impairments. And we've gotten a lot of good input from several peers. We've contacted other agencies. This is kind of a new thing, but there are several agencies, Pinellas, Suncoast Transit in Florida, Solano Transportation Authority just down the road, and the Transit Agency in Livermore, as well as Dayton, Ohio, and Bakersfield, that have been established programs like these that we've been able to learn from. Like I said, we are still kind of, this is really the first public presentation on this. And while we think we have a program that can meet a lot of our needs and parameters, there's a lot more refinement to do on this. So in terms of, public presentations, I think like Laura mentioned, we'll be sharing this with our board of directors on Monday. There'll be a full report on this in our board packet for that meeting, which will probably be published later today or tomorrow. Same time, we should be up with basic information online, frequently asked questions, basic description of this program, as well as, the discussion on Smart Ride's future. We've been working with our customer service folks to make sure they're ready to field these calls. And in addition to our presentation at our board on Monday, we scheduled a few open houses and presentations. So members of the public who can't be there on Monday or who'd like more information or a chance for more personal Q&A can meet with us. We're planning a virtual webinar basically a week from today on Thursday, the 26th at 3:30. And then we've scheduled in-person discussions October 22nd in the afternoon and Wednesday, November 6th in the evening. And those will be listed online when we put this information out. Again, it's kind of saddening news about Smart Ride, but we're very hopeful that this new program, although it may not be able to do everything that Smart Ride's done, can help ease the burden. And this group in particular, we look to both members and attendees to really help us to make the best we can out of this new proposal with this obvious difficult situation. So that I'm happy to take questions, and unless Laura wants to add anything else.
So here's what I want to do. I'll get online. What I want to do is start on Zoom and then go to the room, but I would ask one question per MAC member at a time because we're going to probably have a number of questions and I want everybody to have a shot. So first we'll go to either Pam or Mariano. Do either of them have their hands raised?
Pam Floor, This is a real gut punch. The value of this system is just incredible, as the participants in the public just described. And I can see that you are all being beyond creative in coming up with ways to address these deep needs. Boy, it just is such a loss. It shows. I don't really have a question, I suppose. It just shows we cannot take anything for granted. Is there any citizen participation with any political level? I know the state is hurting for money this year. Anything we can do? That's probably my question. This is hard. This is really hard. Anyone else?
Laura, any? I guess one way to answer that is there any thought of doing a new STA initiative in the next year or two? And what's the?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Jeff. We are certainly looking at different opportunities for additional local funding to support transit. And I think that, expenditure plans and prior measures included allocations for this type of service. I think the soonest that we would see a new ballot measure would probably be in 2026. And we're certainly working with all of our partners right now to identify what that measure might look like. There are a lot of stakeholders involved, of course. But I think advocacy for additional local funding to support transit is probably the most important thing we can do, especially prior to when this SB 125 relief package expires in 2027. I think you all know that SACRT is underfunded at the local level compared to our peers in California. We receive about 5 times less and on average than most of our peers on the West Coast as far as local sales tax, with our half-cent sales tax. Some agencies receiving 1 cent or even 1.5 cents supporting their transit programs. So we have always tried to offer more with less and pursue these grants. And we're very lucky to get the grant that we did that funded Smart Ride for the 5 years that we have had it. But we need to identify new funding to continue a program of this nature. It's not feasible to continue at this time at the cost that we're operating at today.
Mariano, do you have any questions?
I do not. The points I wanted to talk about were already touched. Thank you.
Okay. All right. In the room. Gene, go ahead.
I'd like to get a clarification on the process for getting a ride. It sounds like, some of the taxi companies, you can call in and you get a menu and you can't never get to human being. And the menu is, I can tell you, one company used to be the biggest cab company in the nation. It's flawed with problems. Or if you go with Uber and you use the app, again, you're not dealing with a human being. And I can tell you, my wife took a fall earlier this year, has a cognitive problem, and tried Uber with the app, and has had major problems. We're talking to somebody and getting the ride scheduled work. So are we going to end up having people having the challenge with piecemeal different providers that hopefully can address your needs, whether it's an accessible vehicle? Do you have some that you'll have to use an app, and if you can't use an app, well, that you just don't have that as an option, or you go to a menu that it doesn't work And so after you go through all that, you might end up going to GoGo Grandparents, which is a fantastic company, uses Uber, but they charge you outrageous amounts. And so I'm asking the process getting in. I'd have a lot of other questions, and concerns.
Yeah, we'd love to work with you, Gene. We'd love to work with you personally. We've been, it's still early, but we've been, exploring, testing, conferring with partners. Most of the cab firms we've talked with, as well as the wheelchair transports, they kind of prefer book by phone. A lot of them are kind of moving into the app era and have that too, but they seem to definitely prefer telephone booking over to the app. We want a provider ready to go to augment Uber, preferably on day one, that has the right combination of capabilities. I mean, they need to be someone that can redeem these discount codes, but it needs to provide the best combination of pricing, vehicle quality and availability, and consistency with the remainder of the program. We've done a fair amount of work with one firm, but we haven't necessarily concluded that they can do everything we want. There's quite a variation in pricing out there, so there's a lot to look into. And you yourself and others in this room are both quite experienced and vested with an interest in this service. So we would definitely like to work with you very personally to make sure this thing launches with an optimal combination of parameters and qualities here.
Absolutely.
Okay. Other Frank, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Laura and James. I know that you're going to continue talking with Uber, and one concern I do have majorly nationwide. We've been talking with Uber as well as Lyft, and unfortunately, our blind members with guide dogs have been canceled rides. They pull up, they see him with the guide dog, they cancel the ride, and that's taking place nationwide. So is it possible for you to discuss this with them, please, especially here in California? Because it's taking place in Folsom, Citrus Heights, Sacramento, all the way down in Los Angeles as well. So especially Uber. So can you please talk to them about this to ensure that they will stop that or get rid of those drivers since they don't pick up blind members with guide dogs, please, who are not ruining the cars?
Yeah, love the input. I'd say ensuring student access and wheelchair access has probably been front of our minds, but we've taken note of just for instance on Uber, like a special Uber Pet module designed just for that. And that's kind of been on the list, like, let's look into that, let's suss that out. How well does that work? So I think your comment's right on point, and I'm pleased to have our staff here in the room too, listening and hearing firsthand, because this will be the first of many, large lists of follow-ups.
That's really been a major issue ever since Uber started, and it hasn't gotten any better. I'll just add my concern to Frank's.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question apiece for MAC members because we have a little bit more time, and then we'll get to the public. So if anybody has one more question, I'm willing to. MAC members first, and we'll get to the public.
No, step down.
Any more questions from the MAC? Yeah, but she's not a MAC member. We'll get to her.
Okay, let me ask, Gene.
Okay, Gene.
Okay. What are the guarantees that you're going to get well, wait a minute, take back. Uber looks like it's, appears to be one of the big players you're looking at, but it does not have any accessible vehicles wheelchair accessible vehicles. So how can you can you provide other vendors that can provide the service to those individuals who need the wheelchair vehicles at the same turnaround time? If ambulatory people can get a a ride within 5 to 10 minutes, that is the same thing that somebody uses the wheelchair accessible vehicle can expect that same length of time, not that they're going to end up having to wait maybe 45 minutes to get a ride because of the limited number of accessible vehicles. I hope that made sense.
No, totally understand. Yeah. And I mean, Uber's app has a wave feature, but our Uber reps have been very forthright that, yeah, they don't have any actual wave availability in Sacramento. They have not provided any wave wheelchair rides here in Sacramento. So that's why we've been looking into a second provider. And at this point, I think we're kind of weighing the balance of fleet size and availability versus baseline pricing. There's some options out there where the pricing for a wheelchair ride is very comparable to a ride on Uber, but the vehicle availability is not what we'd hope for. And we've identified at least one firm with greater availability, but pricing that's like 10 times greater, right? So, these are important trade-offs.
Yeah, I just have one quick question, then we'll turn it over to members of the public. Would I be correct in assuming that eligibility, excuse me, would be based upon anyone who is a resident of the various smart ride catchment areas would then be eligible for the program? Is that how you're going to do eligibility, or is there another method?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Yeah, as a baseline, the vouchers would be usable for trips within one of the 9 existing smart ride zones, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7, except holidays. On top of that, we would require folks to register online. We kind of want to have our own registry of customers and not be beholden to any one vendor to reach our customers. And then, there are additional things we can do beyond that. If there is a big differential in pricing for one vehicle type to another, we probably have the capability to allow a larger dollar amount for that subsidy, or to allow a greater number of rides per month per user for that. And so, we've explored and played around with a lot of different options there. I think we actually have a lot of flexibility on that front. But yeah.
Okay, I'll save my other comments because I want to have members of the public have a chance to ask questions. So I know Margie had her hand raised, I was told, so I'll recognize her.
I am here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad that you guys are looking at something to replace Smart Ride. I, these days, with my brain injury, have canceled probably 50% of my paratransit rides. And today I use Smart Ride because I had just enough energy to go to one store. And I'm going to say, I've heard the words, I am a guide dog handler. Uber has been sued by the National Federation of the Blind, and they've been sued by a blind person. They ran a pilot program in Marin County, and the guide dog handlers, I don't know if it ever solidified, I'd have to ask Lisa, but they had many discrimination cases. The police were called. I can't give you all the details, but I'm going to tell you, it will not work. And I want you to hear that clearly. I'm a guide dog user. You can go on YouTube and look up some videos there. I've posted one, my very first Uber ride. We have had endless problems. Uber doesn't care. I want you to know that. And what this is going to do is open up the door for liability on RT's part. You are with knowledge now, it's been discussed. Uber discriminates, blatantly discriminates, drives by us, drags blind people. Lisa was drugged down the street in San Francisco and permanently injured.
30 seconds, Margie.
Okay. There's a huge issue on the 15th of October. If you want to see the issue, go to San Francisco, where there's hundreds of people from all over the country coming in to protest at Uber and Lyft. And they are starting to discriminate against white cane users. RT, I think you better look elsewhere. Uber and Lyft is not the answer. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on Zoom? Okay, those in the room. Oh, is there a Zoom person? Okay, sorry. Austin?
Yeah.
Go ahead. If it's on this topic now, Austin, it's going to just be on this smart ride issue.
Austin is allowed to talk, but I don't know why, but there is
Okay.
oh,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the smart thing is good. Why there's no service for Rosemont, what I am? And it's like I'm towards Rancho Cordova.
Okay, thank you.
Mm.
All right, anyone in the room?
there's one more individual, Mr. Robert on Zoom. I'll allow
Okay,
him to speak.
let's go ahead and we'll take our Zoom person first.
Robert, you're allowed to speak when you're ready.
Roger, go ahead.
Oh, Roger, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's actually Roger, and my name is Roger Oberholzer. And I'm really concerned that, I want to second what everybody said about the guide dog users. I have been a guide dog user. I have multiple guide dog users, and I experienced discrimination by by Uber and by Lyft, and I actually use Serve as well with SecRTGo. And I've brought this up during numerous meetings with you guys because a lot of the Serve drivers come from Uber and Lyft. And I think you guys have now heard from the public um, several times what people's concerns are in wheelchairs and of those who are blind or visually impaired. And I think that you guys actually tell us to just take Uber Pet when you should know that if you had done any research, our service dogs are not pets. They're highly trained. They have been trained for a certain task. That's what a lot of the Uber drivers do. They say, I'm not an Uber pet. You got to call an Uber Pet. And I tell you one thing also, what concerns me about these vouchers. Yesterday, I had a ride to a physical therapy appointment. I didn't take my guide dog, but the driver went the wrong way. It would have been a half a mile ride. Smart RT wouldn't have taken me because it's not long enough. But I tell you, the driver went the wrong directions. He couldn't speak very well English, and he drove 4 miles. So my $8 ride turned into a $22 ride, which then I had to spend probably 10, 15 minutes arguing with Uber over the app that I get the refund. I got the push screen, and I can explain to you what that is in
30
if you
seconds,
don't know what
Roger.
that is, that told me. Sorry?
30 seconds.
And so I didn't even get an email confirmation, but they confirmed they're going to adjust it. But I want to second that you guys have been very made aware of what the issues are, and I'm really concerned that you guys don't have more information regarding grants. And I am also curious when Smart Ride will stop.
Hey, do you know the date on when Smart Ride will stop?
Yeah, right now, we're looking at wrapping up the Smart Ride at the end of the year, December 31st.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone in the room? I think we're done on Zoom. Okay.
I have several questions. So you said keep it to one question, give other people a chance, but I would like to ask other questions to follow up. First of all, I'm not sure if Gene and them have looked into funding from the medical, whether it's Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Kaiser, Medi-Cal, Medicaid. I'm sure they would, you can find funding there. I'm almost certain you can. Maybe the funding that you're lacking, the fact that you already come up and as a foregone conclusion, you're going to wrap this up at the end of the year. That's just, I, I, I don't even know what to say. That's just, wow. Anyways, I do have other questions.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. All right, Jeff.
Yeah, this is Jeff. What is your checklist for this entire process of approving the driver? What is your checklist?
One question, Jeff.
Oh, that's the question.
Okay.
Whether we're with, whether with Uber, Lyft, any cab or wheelchair transport, they're the drivers for another firm. So they're not SAC-RT operators. We are not involved in training. All the firms we would work with have their own regimes for driver and vehicle quality. We have all our drivers, they undergo commercial driver training, and we're very proud of how our system works for training. Uber has a more technological based, you take a bad ride, you give it a 1-star review. And I think they have a lot of confidence in that, But yeah, to be sure, these are not our employees under our training. We're dealing with firms that we believe are reputable, that we believe can deliver a competitive quality product.
I'm not gonna, we need to go on because the agenda.
No, this is just
Okay.
some things from, one is there, as has been said, Uber Pets is not for service animal handlers, but there are those of us with pets that cannot put our dog, like a 20, 30-pound dog, into a kennel and carry it aboard a paratransit vehicle. That would be a service that you should look into, having that as one. And the other thing is, I understand you can't check the background, but complaint process, you got to have something, because Uber, last 2 days ago, driver bringing my wife back abruptly stopped a mile away short of home on a lonely road, told her to get out with her walker, and that he had another fare that was going to be further away and he'd make more money. And it took us forever to find, and thanks to Margie, got a phone number that we got a live person at Uber. So you look at the complaint process too. So thank you.
I'll just add, you might be interested in knowing that the Department of Justice has received an awful lot of complaints by the service animal community about Uber and Lyft. So nationwide, that's correct. Okay.
Jeff,
Anyone
may I
else?
say one quick thing?
No, really, I
Okay.
can't. I can't, because we have other items to get to.
One sentence.
Is there
Okay.
any other members of the public that have not had a chance to talk that wish to do so on this item? Okay, because we are going to go on because we have another very important item.
Mr. Chair, I might just thank the members. We always get very relevant feedback in this forum, both from members and guests. And I think one thing I neglected to add, we're hoping to fund this for an 18-month period. Part of the purpose of this period is to evaluate the providers or the provider or the providers we use. If we were to go forward with a permanent program, it would be with, some actual experience doing this. So we're doing our utmost now to start this up with providers that we think will be good. And, Uber's demonstrated a state of readiness on an aggressive timeline. But one of the purposes of this 18-month trial period that we're hoping to fund is to figure out the very best options and providers for something like this if we want to go forward with it. With that, though, I'll just thank everyone for their comments. I know we have a busy agenda, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so item B is what, 980? Oh, sorry. All right, so we're back. Casey Cartwright is here with the Integrated Technology Project. Casey.
Good afternoon, Chair. My apologies for not being able to be there in person today, but wanted to give a couple of brief and exciting updates regarding the Cal ITP project, the Tap to Ride fare system that is currently available on board SAC-RT's light rail vehicles. We have entered into a contract with 2 vendors to expand the program to our bus fleet. That would include paratransit or SAC-RT Go vehicles as well. One of the hardware provider is a company called Kuba, and the payment payment processor is Little Pay, who we're currently working with on the light rail fleet of vehicles. We're anticipating that we should receive and begin the installation of this hardware later this year and have something up and running by early 2025. We are also working on a new account-based ticketing platform for SAC-RT that would replace or upgrade our existing ZipPass and Connect Card systems with a unified fare system across all platforms for all passengers at SAC-RT. We are going through the RFP process right now. In fact, we just concluded vendor demonstrations with a number of high qualified bidders on the project and are looking forward to making some decisions in the near future on potentially moving forward with one of those on or around the same timeline. Looking at something in early 2025 to be coming out in regards to potential upgrades to SAC-RT's mobile app and to the Connect Cards system. So with that, would love to just keep it brief and take any questions you guys may have about fare systems here at RT moving forward.
Great update. Thank you. Good to hear real positive things. So questions? Charles.
Okay, thanks for this update. I think it's really an exciting thing to be able to expand pay options across platforms. I don't know if you've run into this, but I do have a Connect card. I was going to use it the other day. I thought I would check on it the day before, and my Connect card was expired, which, okay. I called up and I have to go back down to the main office and fill out all of the forms and have my photograph retaken and everything. And even though I have $20 still left on the thing. So I'm generous. I'll be glad to give RT $20, but I'll squawk a little bit. So I'm squawking a little bit about that. Talk me through this.
Yeah, so good. First bit of good news, even with our current Connect Card system, we should be able to absolutely transfer your $20 to your new card. So that won't go away. But in terms of a new fare system, one of the significant upgrades that passengers will see is that we should be able to have opportunities for even individuals who are receiving discounts, seniors, those with disabilities, et cetera, to remotely validate or verify their eligibility. With our current Connect Card system, we just don't have that feature available. A lot of the system is housed internally here at RT. It's not very online. It's what they call a card-based system. The new account-based features that come with these new fare systems allow for a lot more flexibility and easier processes for the individuals involved.
Thank you very much for that. I look forward to the new system. And what really upset me, though, was that I got no notification that it was expired. So that's the end of my question and comment.
Helen.
Yes, I was concerned because I only deal with cash. I don't do online banking. I don't deal with debit cards or credit cards for my transportation. And I was wondering how that would work. I do have a Connect card because I have a monthly 60 pass with RT Go. So I don't know how to transfer everything over.
Thanks for the question, Helen. It will be important to think of moving forward. There will be two kind of fare systems at RT, but one rider experience. So the two systems that we'll have, the tap to ride system that's available on light rail right now, that's primarily the primary use case for that is you can walk on board with your existing credit or debit card, mobile phone, and pay directly at the device itself. The account-based ticketing system that we're adding on to that feature will allow passengers such as yourself who ride with cash to pay at a number of retail locations around town, and it will be vastly expanded where you'll be able to go and pay cash at a 7-Eleven or a Walgreens, or we'll have a number of partners depending on who the final bidder is. But talking hundreds of locations around town where you'll be able to take your cash and load it into an account that you can then use on the bus. And that would be usable on SAC-RT Go, as well as our fixed route fleet as well. The same account will go across both systems.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other members in the room? Gene, go ahead.
So after this comes in existence, does that mean that the fare box on the fixed route buses will disappear and you will not be able to pay a fare in cash on the fixed route buses?
Now, you'll certainly still be able to pay fare in cash. Over time, you may see the role of the fare box itself decline, but that's years into the future. Our existing fleet of fare boxes on board our vehicles will stay, and we'll continue to collect cash for the foreseeable future. I honestly, even into the future, I don't see us getting away from cash collection on board the bus at this point now.
Good, thank you.
Okay, anyone else in the room? Any members? Okay, members on Zoom. Okay, don't hear anybody. So, public in the room.
I'm sorry, Jeff. How does that affect the use serve where you pay cash? Are we not going to be able to do that?
We'll have to work out the final details with UServe in regards to how that works, but I don't anticipate any changes in that regard.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Members, sorry, public in the room. Jeff, go ahead.
Melissa again.
Okay, go ahead, Melissa.
Quick question. I assume this doesn't mean you're getting rid of Zip Pass, does it? Because I really like Zip Pass. It works really well. And I'm assuming that it goes across all of the different kinds of transportation. I know I can use it on RTGO and the light rail. I haven't tried to use it on the bus, but I can buy a single fare, so I would assume I can use it there too. But just verify that for me.
Yeah, so it is possible that the Zip Pass application itself may be replaced with a new mobile application, but the new mobile app that comes in will certainly have all of the features of our existing Zip Pass, as well as a number of other enhancements that you'll enjoy and love. A lot of trip planning information will be available in the new application. Our alert system will be plugged into the new application. We're really seeing this as an opportunity to simplify our electronic or app needs of our passengers and try to get us to a point where you have one application you need to go download onto your phone to do any of your SAC-RT activities. So any kind of push notifications or messaging that our marketing team is sending out, we'll go through the app as well as through our normal channels that it goes now. We're not removing anything existing we have, but it will provide a much greater benefit in terms of just the fare payment application will be vastly superior under the new model.
Okay, Jeff.
Where to start? Casey, San Francisco had a problem with tapping. Has that been addressed for the devices that are being used so there is no scamming? Because that's become prolific here in San Francisco. I'm wondering if your contacts in Monterey or the other counties have indeed had examples of that. And the second thing is the hour-and-a-half limit. How is that going to be timed out with the moving from one fare situation to another device, bus to train or otherwise?
Yeah, so I'll start with the hour-and-a-half limit. I don't anticipate any changes there, Jeff. We should be able to move the existing fare structure over to the new system with no problem. If anything, you're going to see more benefits and enhancements to the passenger in terms of fares available and stuff like that on the new fare system. Certainly any of our existing functionality won't go away. The hardware that we've selected, we have not had, the Cal ATP team has not had any issues with fraudulent activity in regards to their particular equipment. I'll have to get some more information from you potentially, Jeff, on exactly what's going on in San Francisco. They use a closed loop system there in the Bay Area that's not a part of what we're purchasing or bidding on here in Sacramento.
Okay, anyone else in the room? Excuse me. All right, and anyone on Zoom? Members of the public on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, we will now
Austin
go.
has his hand raised, yes.
I'm sorry?
Austin.
Okay, Austin, you want to talk on the technology issue?
So the new system, does that mean that I can use my Apple Pay? Can I use my Apple Watch to pay for?
Yes, so Apple Pay will be accepted on board the buses once the new hardware is available. So on a SAC-RT Go vehicle or a SAC-RT fixed route bus, you'll be able to tap to pay with your Apple Watch as you board, and pay the exact same fare that you would otherwise with cash or Zip Pass or any of the other things.
What about the paratransit?
Yeah, paratransit will be included as part of that.
Nice. And that's next year.
Yeah, we're anticipating hardware installation to begin later this year and the program to be rolled out early in 2025.
That's so nice. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Austin. Okay.
And Margie has her hand raised.
Margie, go ahead.
Hi again. I think you're all very well aware of the issues with Zip Pass, and it's a accessibility issue. And whereas Apple Pay is fully accessible, I hope whatever apps you put up that we could pay that are being developed are evaluated by a trained evaluator for compliance, accessibility compliance. We don't need to go down the road of contracting for an app and once again having it not be fully accessible.
Okay, thank you, Margie. Okay, we will now move on to our next item, which is no, that one has 190 is tabled until the next. So Jeff, you wanted to bring up an issue, and even though it can't be discussed, I am going to let you mention it because we're not going to be discussing it today. So if you choose to, I'll give you. Yeah.
I was just going to bring up that there is 5 to 10 people there, and I've seen them held meetings in between the elevators. My comment relates to you now have some type of security device sitting on light rail. What is the purpose of that, device being up there with cameras and a purple thing like you see at Safeway rooms and other places, sitting right in the middle of the platform there for light rail on the downstairs area?
Okay.
Just a question.
We can address that next month. Thank you. Okay, we're now going to our low floor vehicle updates, and we have our team, our intrepid team here again today. So I will let them have the floor.
Good afternoon. Excuse me. Good afternoon, MAC Board. Mike Cormier, Director of Light Rail Maintenance. The S700s continue to operate primarily on the Gold Line. Some success. We are submitting or adding some legacy fleet to the mix every now and then to complete a lot of the train makeups. But we're continuing to make progress on adding more and more vehicles to the Gold Line. And it's looking pretty good. So fairly successful rollout. Is there any questions?
Yeah, you've heard, and I don't know whether you want to delay this to a different part of the update, but you've heard some of the questions that have been raised regarding, the deployment of the ramp, the steepness of the slope, etc. Do you have any comments to make on any of that?
Certainly, we're reviewing those. We're getting the data to which vehicle it was and the time of day so that we can better analyze that and make sure we fully understand so we can address it. Some of the vehicles that were mentioned were already pulled out of service so that we can analyze them, and we take it seriously. So there is progress there, sir.
Okay. And are you also looking or monitoring or whatever the bicycle issue that has been addressed by a couple folks? I know you're not going to do anything about it immediately, obviously, but we know that needs to be monitored to see if it's a ongoing issue.
Certainly so. We would continue to work with the operations team, Vince, who is not here today, to make sure we monitor that and make adjustments where necessary with the TA and the staffing levels on board the trains to make sure that, we can board together, right?
Okay, thank you. Gene.
Michael, first, let me just ask you, are you going to be talking at all, or is there somebody else following you that can be talking about the platform, the station platform issues? I have a comment to make.
I don't know
whether you
there's
can address it
anybody
or.
for that. Can you go ahead and ask? Gene?
Okay. I've been given permission to use their name. Paul Patch, who's low vision, he and his sister are thrilled about the light rail vehicles. They thought it was great. They rode it Saturday evening, and they were at 23rd and R Street station and going to the 16th and R station. And they, because they had seen approaching, they saw a high floor vehicle rail come the in service coming down there. They went to the mini high platform to wait, assuming that it was going to probably be another high floor coming there. Well, what came in and they were able to see was a low floor vehicle, and they rushed and they said, thanks to the driver seeing them coming from there, but there was no audible announcement announcing that there was a train coming in and what kind of train it was, as there was supposed to be. They did get on. They got off at 16th and R Street, and they waited a little bit, and they heard the announcements were being made as the type of trains came in were being announced. So I don't know whether that problem's been corrected or about 23rd Street, 23rd and R. Apparently, as of Saturday night, the audible system there to make the announcements was not operable, and I don't know as it currently stands right now. So I don't know if that's kind of out of your area, I suppose, but this is the only place I could bring it up, I thought.
Certainly. Thank you, Gene. And I've taken notes on that, and I should be able to find some answers. There is a movement that has guards stationed at the stations to assist in that matter, to make sure that we eliminate the confusion. I would not be able to speak on behalf of what was in play at 23rd, but there is efforts employed to assist in this new item versus we're having low floor trains and high floor trains together. And it's a mix, certainly is. And we're doing what we can to make sure that we take the environment and make it easier. So I'll look into it, Gene.
Yeah, thank you. And they said it was because of the driver of the low floor light vehicle saw them trying to get quickly as possible to move to the low floor ramps, stopped. There was anyone else from RT there to give any assistance. And they were expecting, after all the presentations, to hear an audible announcement. But they think it's the greatest thing to ride the low floor vehicles. They think they're just fantastic, and
Okay.
compliment RT on that.
Thank you.
Other MAC members? Okay, MAC members in Zoom. Okay, members of the public. Jeff, go ahead.
It's a pity I can't tell you about the trips on low floor, but I will want to congratulate and thank you for the announcements being made distinguishing the low floor and the high floor. This occurred at both 65th Street and at 29th Street. I don't always hear it at all the other places, but this is Sac Valley Station sometimes, as well as some other locations. But the September 3rd, the light rail train was jam-packed. So after that, I saw you use low floor or high floor vehicles as well to accommodate. I'm going to suggest two things. One, because of the problem inside and out, dealing with the button pushing that you ask for when there's transit locations. I'm thinking 65th, 29th Street and other locations, that you have the operator deploy the ramp so that it will be easy to get either on or off the vehicle. I thought that suggestion is helpful to go on and continue with. The other thing I will offer that for people that can see is you can look and see whether it's a low floor vehicle with a single light or whether it's the old train with the double headlights above. But I will also say the new brakes on the low floor vehicles are quite dramatic. So for people that are in wheelchairs, I'm going to suggest that they do not face the direction of travel, but the other way. I have been thrown out of the high platforms, and I've been thrown out of a couple other situations before. So I learned to be in the backwards position for the low floor vehicles. Now, growing pains, bicycles, I really would like to
30 seconds, Jeff.
Yep, I would really like to see that you don't restrict them to only 2 or 4, and at 4 o'clock, because of the students' load, that you consider wearing a high floor vehicle in there to accommodate the amount of bicycles. I've seen as many as 6 to 10. I haven't seen 10, but I've seen 8 bicycles all on the same trip, and they are using the yellow maintenance level to flip their bike up to hold it in there, just for maintenance purposes of keeping things clean. That's my comments right now.
Thank you. Other members of the public, and then Gene, I'll come back to you. Okay, any members of the public on Zoom? Okay,
No.
Gene, you're up.
Michael, does the S700, as it is currently designed, is it something where the driver can actually operate remotely the ramps, or is that something that could only be initiated by pushing the button?
Gene, the operator has full control of the doors and the ramps. So that is a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
So I just have a quick question, and I should have asked it when I asked my other one, but do you anticipate, with respect to the issues that have been brought up by those using mobility devices, i.e. the, deployment of the ramp if you're outside and somebody else on the inside is deploying it, and also the issue of the slope in terms of some, wheelchairs. Do you anticipate having some, discussion of that for the next meeting, or this next meeting? Because what I don't want to see is these issues sort of languish.
Understood. And I think we can be prepared to add some technical brief and some education in regards to that, and how things sit right now, and some dimensions, and hopefully that helps. And the process of what the train goes through to open the doors or the ramp. So there's a specific process there for safety reasons, and we can totally explain that in the next meeting.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Expand on it just a bit. So the car height is set and tested on all vehicles, so it's uniform, and it's preset. So that's a standard. It doesn't vary from vehicle to vehicle. we could look at that. We can assess, there's a certain threshold of range or tolerance, I should say, of range. But we can look closer at that.
Okay, thank you.
And Anthony, you want to just introduce yourself?
Oh, I did over there. Yeah, Anthony DiCristofano, AVP Operations.
All right. Anyone else? Any other member questions? Okay. Is that our last item or do we have
We
another?
have,
Thought we had
under
another
old
one.
business, but we have new business. We have a TCMP meeting update from Helen.
Ah, okay. Helen, you are up with your TCNP report.
Good afternoon, people. We had a TCMP meeting on September 5th, and we covered a few items. And I'm going to make a quick overview. If you would like more detail, please let me know. I have some notes, but I don't want to read the whole thing. Our first item was RT operations sensitivity training. And Blanca Salcedo, represented. They have a sensitivity training that is done throughout the RT system, and it is equally done no matter what part you drive or what part you're using. They have the same sensitivity training. Ms. Floor brought up that communications with deaf people or hard of hearing need special attention when they're riding. We also had Mr. Johnson say that they should be able to get special training for the hard of hearing or deaf community. A suggestion was that maybe they could use 7-Eleven, the remote interpretations assistance. But Mrs. Salcedo said that the drivers are not allowed to use their personal cell phones. So they suggested that the dispatchers or the road supervisors would be able to assist that situation. Next item that we spoke about was the Sacramento County emergency preparations for people with disabilities. Presentation by Cheryl Bennett, the Disability Compliance Office. She had things to say that there are many organization or many offices and organizations that are put in place for emergency people with disabilities evacuations. And but the most important part was that if you don't depend on the fact that you're registered with a certain group, that they'll know where you are and come get you. She also said that it would be a really good idea to have like a go bag that has all your necessities for at least 3 days, so that if an emergency happens, like a flood or a fire or something like that, that you would be able to be ready to go. And she also suggested that you have an alternative way to get to a transportation hub, because if there's an apartment building that needs evacuation or a nursing home, they would probably take priority over a private residence, only because they would be helping more people at a facility than they would going door to door. Another thing, let's see. Mrs. Bennett brought up that, a lot of people that have ventilators and need emergency electricity to stay alive, they have people on a special list that could be made available to the people that are doing the evacuations. But basically, at the end, she said that it would most likely be better if you had an evacuation plan to get to an evacuation center, because like she said, they're not going to know where everybody is. If you can get to a central location, it would be very beneficial. Let's see. I think the last section, the last section we talked about was provisions of accessible formats and audio description videos. And Priscilla Vargas brought up this item. The MAC board has this as one of their work plan goals, and we are working with certain companies that do interpretation and making all our communications accessible in different formats for those people that need special attention. Let's see. We're trying to get all of our videos and all of our programs that would be visual to be like closed captioned or audio descriptive. And that would, we should have, let's see, there are requirements that if you need special formats, that you provide as much time as possible. Are there any questions on my report that I might be able to answer in more detail?
Yeah, I'm just going to make one comment, expand. On the accessible format policy, Gene and I threw out several points that we thought should be addressed in such a policy. And then Priscilla said that she would come back. I don't remember whether she's coming back to TCMP or to this body. I can't remember. She said, but with a proposal based on what we had discussed at that meeting. So I just wanted to clear that up. So any questions from MAC members? Gene, go ahead.
It's not a question, and I just want to expand slightly on what you said, Helen. You're absolutely right that the videos need to be captioned and have audio description if it's not in the narrative. But it also brought up the fact that it needs to have an interpreter, a sign language interpreter in that so that it's visible. As NorCal, as representatives have brought up in public meetings, the not everyone who is deaf or hard of hearing is fluent enough in English that captioning is beneficial for them, where sign is. So that is something. And Priscilla, said that all these suggestions would be looked at and she'd come back and talk to us about it. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't like acronyms either. It's transportation, communications, and policy. Or training.
Training, yeah. Thank you for
Training,
the good question, by the way.
communications, and policy.
Hold us accountable. That's what
Please.
to do. Okay. Any other MAC members, either in the room or on Zoom? Here's not members of the public. Let's take Zoom first this time. Any hands up on Zoom?
No hands up at the moment.
No hands up. Okay. Any in the room? Wow, we came to a screeching halt fairly quickly here. Sometimes you never know.
Tried to be concise.
Yes, that's right. You did an excellent job. So we're now to Kathy, are you going to give us a report on the GPS location update?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for bringing this to our attention so that we could definitely look into the issue. We continue to meet with UServe and we've confirmed that the notes are actually in the trips. So that piece has been good. But what we did find in Ecolane, every once in a while, for whatever reason, technology, the pin will move. So what we've done is for instance, Jeff, we repinned your home so that they aren't across the street.
Across the street, yes, we've been delivered there a few times. Yes.
And Jean, we also repinned for the Sacramento County Administrative Building. So I'd like to ask you all if you find any others, because we have so many locations and we do the best we can. But if you find any others, please let us know and we can definitely look into what is the solution to that problem.
Okay. Any MAC members on Zoom first? Okay, I don't hear of anybody. Any in the room? Jean, go ahead.
Kathy, I think it was during the, can't remember now whether it was the training committee, Helen's meeting, or the county execs meeting, our executive committee meeting. I praised SACRT Go and Richard and staff, including yourself, for addressing the issues of GPS, particularly 708th Street. And things went fine. Then about a week ago, I went to a meeting at the county administration building, and the driver was waiting, the Uber and user, and he was there, and when I got in, he said, "Thank you." And I said, "Thank you for what?" And he said, "Thank you for the extensive note that I got that told me exactly where to find you." And he said, "Whoever put it in gave me the information," because he said, "If I had not had that note, I would have been waiting for you on I Street, down the block, not here. The GPS was taking me there, but because of the note, I knew where to go specifically. So maybe you need to redo that thing,
And
because apparently 708th Street is still sending some of the drivers to the I Street side of the building or further down I Street."
Yeah, it was the pin besides the note. The note was in there all along, but of course it didn't coordinate with I Street because we don't pick up on I Street. So, but that should really be rectified now.
So, but thank you for everything you've been doing and the rest of the staff.
Of course. Any other questions? If,
Is that Austin?
Okay, go ahead, Austin.
Sorry, about the, when I use, the paratransit on my app, it doesn't show me the app it's, like 10 minutes away or 15 minutes, etc. And it doesn't tells me the street name is it's crossing, and I think that's a lot of concern about and shit, including Tiffany's asked several times for that.
Austin, are you referring to Go or for YouServe?
Ubers. I can't.
It's fine. I can definitely look into that, Austin, and get back to you in regards to that, okay?
Do I have to do another app for that?
No, you shouldn't have to.
Okay,
But
good.
I'll look further into it, Austin, and give you a call.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So I do have one question. Back in the old days, a year ago or so, it seemed like it was stated, I'm sure it was stated, that YouServe drivers are supposed to knock on the door. I can't remember when the last YouServe driver, well, I shouldn't say never, but it is very, very seldom anymore in my recollection, and maybe others will have a different view. But nowadays, it seems like 95% of them call. And I'm like, I'm tempted to not go out there, but if I didn't go out there, they might leave. So I don't want to do that. But I mean, that was the protocol, as I recall, and it's not happening anymore at all from my perspective. I don't know if any of the rest of you have a different view.
Yes, they're supposed to be providing the same service as our SAC-RT Go. And my recommendation is let customer service know, because then we take these complaints to management at YouServe. And,
Okay.
and
There's too many to mention, but I will certainly do that.
But they should be providing the same level of
Yeah,
service as what
that was what I thought. Any other MAC members or members of the public? Since we're just about done on this issue.
There is one more, Joseph Wilson on Zoom. I'm gonna.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Guys, this is Joseph. This is Joseph Wilson. Guy from Resources for Independent Living. Okay, this is kind of a question about whenever there's like an error with with the GPS, it's like dropping off. Like, what's the best way for someone to sort of like report that to Sacramento?
Kathy, did you get his question?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
So is your question, Joseph, what's the best way to report it? What was your question? I don't want to make sure we get the right question.
Yeah. So like, what's the best way to report it, and like what happens from there?
Yeah, for a GPS type issue.
Oh, for a GPS type issue, you can still report it to customer service, and they will make sure that we get it, and we'll definitely be looking into it, and we will respond to you.
All right. Is that the sufficient answer to your question, Joseph?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Anyone else? Last chance on this item. All right. Thank you very much. I believe that ends our new business items. So we're to announcements on requests for items on the agenda. I think my paratransit's here, but I'm not gonna.
I have announcements, but I know that Gene has his hand up.
Go ahead, Gene.
It falls under the category of request inquiry. This has to do with complaints. I've been reading a report from Canada, British Columbia, and I don't know how it's set up with their transit company, of how they interact with their local Department of Transportation or anything, but and I'm wondering if RT's considered this. We've heard over years at times about the RT bus stops being in poor condition, the maintenance, vandalism, etc. Well, up there in Canada, apparently, if you find that there's an issue to do with access or maintenance or anything with the bus stop, that you call 311 and they take the report and it gets to the transit company. I'm wondering whether that, and I know RT's not part of county or city government and they have the 311, but I'm wondering if that's something that could be looked at where people then, when they're finding the issues at bus stops, and that they could just call 311 and report it there, and then getting funneled to RT, just so that people are not having to wait. Oh, I'll get home or somewhere, and then I'll go through the process of contacting customer service that may or may not be open at the time. So I was just wondering if that's something might be looked at as the feasibility.
We should definitely agendize that. Thank you, Gene.
Okay.
Anyone else for requests or announcements?
I have a
Go ahead.
request, and I should have asked this question when we got this smart ride update. Is SACRT able to do a request for proposals so that companies can apply for this grant, and then these companies can meet the requirements that we're asking, such as service animals? So when they apply, they already know what the expectation is.
I think Blanca's got it.
Hi, my name is Blanca Salcedo, VP of Operations. I been working with Laura, who's not here anymore and was doing the planning. I know that also has come up. I'm not sure that we do have the time to do that, but I know that that has been discussed. I can come back and give you guys more information to see why or why not we cannot go through that process.
And remember, you have the opportunity, I'm speaking to everybody in the room really, to testify before the board. I guess this item is coming up, that's what I'm understanding. So there is a chance, and you can't testify MAC members as members of the MAC, but you can certainly testify as members of the community, not to mention anyone who is in the public.
I have an announcement.
Okay, go ahead, Priscilla.
Okay, well, I wanted to mention, we did have our TC&P meeting a couple of weeks ago or a week and a half ago. And some MAC members were there along with the committee members, but not everyone. So I wanted to inform everyone in this meeting that Carmen Alba has taken a new position outside of SACRT, and she is no longer with us. We're all sad, but we are happy for her. And as you might have figured out just from Blanca's mention of her title, she has been promoted to VP of Operations. So she has been able to take on the shoes that Carmen was in. Big job, but she's definitely up for the challenge, right? Right, Blanca? So Blanca is here. I wanted her to, just give a welcome hello. Everybody knows Blanca already because she does attend our meetings, but go ahead, Blanca.
Hello, everyone. I had a chance to talk to some of you guys on the last meeting, as she mentioned. I did also express that we were all sad to see Carmen go and that I was following some big shoes to fill and I was hoping, you guys will give me the opportunity to make sure I work with every single one of you and ensure that we continue that partnership that Carmen was providing to the committee. I'm been with SACRT for 18 years. I started at CBS small bus division and have been here for a long time, like 5 years. The last 5 years, I have been a director of bus operations. So I have been involved in these meetings and I know the concerns and I've worked closely with SACRT staff and I pretty much know the whole team. So this should be an easy transition. Again, my commitment is to give you guys and continue to give you what was Carmen offering to you guys, because I know all of you guys were really happy with her and everybody was not just you guys, but us as staff that we reported to her. We're going to miss her a lot, but we will make her proud. And I learned a lot from her and I wish, hopefully I get to show you that and continue our support and working together.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Blanca, and we certainly appreciate all that you do and we're glad to be working with you in the future.
Thank you. Sorry, before, I'm not sure if she did mention before I do go, I do want to say that we did, Richard Mitchell is also not any longer with SACRT. So I'm not sure if everybody does know, and I will be also overseeing, that's where I come in with SACRT and working closely with everybody in the team. So I just wanted to make sure I brought that up.
Thank you, Blanca.
Thank you. All right. Any other items to come before the body or are we ready to adjourn? I think we are. All those in favor of the, well, we don't have a motion. All those, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much for a great meeting, everybody, and for all the excellent input.
Have a nice night, everyone. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.